Just over a decade ago, Stefan Krook co-founded a company called Kivra, which has since become one of Sweden's most widely used digital services and is used by millions of people across the country. Alongside building Kivra, Stefan has founded GlocalNet, the GoodCause Foundation, and Flower, which are all involved in questions around responsibility, sustainability, and how innovation can create a real societal impact. Last year, he also published his book, The Laghum Economy, proposing a new economic system for sustainable development. Today, we're joined by Stefan to talk about his journey, his ideas, and what he's learned along the way. Hi, everyone. My name is Esther.
I'm William.
And this is Stefan Krook, Under an Hour. Hey, Stefan. Glad to have you here. How are you?
I'm very good. Very happy to be here.
Yes, we're so happy to have you. How does it feel being back in Handels?
It's good. I've been practicing now for a year. So I'm a practitioner in residence, it's called, since a year. So I'm back quite a lot. Nice. And I like it. And
we've heard. We're going to get into that a bit later on. But first, about your background. Could you tell us a bit about yourself and kind of where you grew up, how your life was like before coming to SSC?
Yes. So I was born in the very south of Sweden, outside Lund, a university town in the south of Sweden. Yes. And then I grew up in Gothenburg and Tranås in Småland. And I guess always thought school was important, but had to work hard to actually get good grades and eventually get good grades enough to get in here.
Yes.
But I have had the entrepreneurial interest, and I guess I can even, when I'm 50 plus, say talent since I was small.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how did that talent manifest kind of when you were small?
Yeah,
did you ever...
I think I've had kind of business ideas since very, very early, and I wouldn't have regarded it as such at the time, but nowadays I typically answer that probably my first company was when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And I had been working at a farm picking strawberries as a 7-year-old during the summer time when there was strawberry season. Yeah. And then the year after, I was really proud to that I actually had a job. But the year after, I chose to actually go to the same farm every morning, very early, work half the time and pay for the strawberries because they had sort of self-picking or whatever it should be called in English. And then I went around selling them. I didn't earn more, but it was more fun.
Yeah.
But what was it that made you, as an 8-year-old, want to work that hard even when you were 8 years old? When I was 8 years old, I was maybe building Legos and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, but I think, I counted my revenues in a comic, what do you say?
Comic books.
Comic books, yeah. So kind of whatever, I earned like 3 sort of second-hand comic books a day, both as an employee and as an entrepreneur. And the reason why I was proud of the job and I loved the job, but I've always had kind of a bad back, and actually picking strawberries, if you've done that a lot, it's actually not a very comfortable position.
I can imagine,
yeah. So it was, I would say, it was just adaptation to doing the job, but just a bit differently in a sense, sort of not thinking I'm starting a company. I didn't start a sort of, obviously a sort of legal entity either.
But at 8 years old, very impressive. Very impressive.
But I guess not even people around you would think of it that way. So that's why I'm sort of, since this is, I guess, targeted at younger people, it's... Now I can say that was my first company. I was probably like 30 years old until I thought, that was actually my first company. So you can do a lot of things as a kid that are entrepreneurial, but maybe you don't even regard them as such, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then we could say that your entrepreneurial breakthrough maybe didn't start with the strawberries, but perhaps with the GlocalNet, a telecom sector. Being your second company then, after the strawberries. And you did this while studying at SSC. And can you tell us a bit more about this company and what you did?
Yeah, okay, so this is a long time ago as well. So I enrolled here at the school in 1993, and we got internet at the school 1995. So that was a game changer. Suddenly you could reach out all over the world with emails, right? And they were for free as a student. At the same time, I had a summer job at a telecommunications company. So we were selling international telephone calls, and a large part of those from companies for example, across the Atlantic. You told me you lived in the US. 1/3 of all the sort of telecom traffic to the US was telefax, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember or you know about what
I've
it is?
seen
You
them
don't
in the
remember.
movies,
Yeah,
yeah.
you've seen it in the movies. So, so that's kind of like an email with a printer, right? So I went to the CTO at the company and said, why don't we change these telefaxes to emails and send them across the Atlantic and repackage them to telefax again,
Yeah.
because there would be no cost. In the US, you could call for free locally. So that was kind of the idea, not being an engineer, but being a sort of business person. I thought, okay, that would make it for free, and and why don't we do it like that?
Exactly.
And it sounds like very logical to do it that way. But what was the response? You said you went to your boss.
Yeah,
and
to the
asked him.
CTO, and the CTO, the technical manager, thought it was a very stupid idea because there was a better protocol to do it. The CEO thought it was kind of interesting, and I actually went away on a student exchange to St. Gallen in Switzerland. I met a computer scientist there, and we became eventually the co-founders of GlocalNet. So we tried to learn more about how the internet worked and what you could do, and I had the business contacts here in Sweden, so we could get started.
Yes, absolutely. And so you were doing this alongside your studies.
Yeah, I thought that the true story is that I thought I had dropped out, right? Because but I did take sort of you could have yearly pauses and write a letter to.
So that's what it was.
That's what it
Okay.
was, and then it just as life turned. A few years later, I actually wanted to come back and finish. Then I stepped down. Then the company had been developing, and we had good times and bad times. We had listed on the stock exchange, and I stepped down as CEO. And then I wanted to come back here to school.
Okay. And you
So
came
that's what
back
I did.
to finish your...
Then I graduated for real. Wrote my thesis about business culture and graduated.
Okay.
And went
very
on
nice.
in life.
Yes, very good. And from that period of your life, then being at Handels or SSE, do you have any key takeaway that you really think that students should hear?
I think it's. I think one of the most important things that you will take with you from these years are probably around you here in the room. It's the friendships that you will get. So obviously you need to get your grades and sort of. It's good if you do it. At least I did it in the end, but that took me 10 years to do a 4 years master program. But I think sort of the friendships. I think even the president of the school nowadays says that kind of. And that's not the friendships part, but in the Swedish word utbildning, building is what is still remaining when you forgot what you actually learned. And so I think, just hanging in here, doing your stuff, getting. I mean, now you're sitting here your first year and you're pretty relaxed, but I'm quite sure you have tough periods as well when you study like mad and you think, oh, this is terrible. But this will be good memories in the end.
Yes, I hope so.
And I think we're going to move on a bit to some other companies you've started. So after finishing your studies, you went on to funding your company GoodCause. And can you tell us a bit more about this company? What did you do there, and where did this idea come from?
Yeah, this is. So I had built. I would say a traditional company, even taking it public, as I said. But I came back writing the thesis about business culture and also thinking I was still young, right? So I was 29 and I was still, okay, so I've done a lot that you could dream about as an entrepreneur. Start a company and start getting some traction, even taking it public. But that was not purpose in life. And so I really, as I was back here, I was wanting to think, okay, so what should I do with the rest of my life? And thought that if you're lucky in a life lottery on the planet where you're born, your circumstances and so on, you should actually take responsibility for those that are less fortunate. And then I thought about sort of organizations like Doctors Without Borders, Save the Children, etc. But didn't believe I could do a lot of good in those organizations. eventually, after just finishing my thesis, I read a book called Happiness, which is about Dalai Lama's thinking.
Yeah.
And then when I was still searching in this book, I found something that helped me then, and that was basically I had prejudice against a religious leader that his message would be that I would just sit in a lotus position and understand everything in life, how everything is connected. And
but the book wasn't about that, was it?
No. So the book instead, the book is full of things, of advice on how to live a good life. But what I took with me was that he said that it's important that you do something, and if you want impact in what you're doing, you should do what you're good at. And no matter what you're good at, you can try to direct the outcome to good things. So very simple formula, but it helped me back from believing I should work for Doctors Without Borders. Not saying they're not doing good, but I don't think I would fit in there. And I'm not the doctor, so I couldn't do the most obvious work. So then I thought, okay, the only thing I'm good at is entrepreneurship. So I should do that. But how do you do entrepreneurship in order to do good? And the formula that I dreamt about at the time, and which has now been going on in businesses for over 20 years, is companies that give 100% of all future dividends to good causes. So that idea, that concept came before the concrete idea of starting an energy company. Start a company, compete in the market, serve your customers, but then what's normally goes to the shareholders, instead that would go to Doctors Without Borders, Save the Children, etc., according to the customer's choices. Then, so that was the idea, how to structure it, and then it's another story. So since it's not, we have to pick. But the fact that we ended up with energy is another anecdote.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's the most
but the
important part.
idea behind it is very nice.
Yeah.
And this philosophy you have of trying to help others with everything you create is something we've noticed in all your companies. And if we take Kivra, basically you challenge the whole traditional postal industry with a digital alternative, and in a way reducing the need of paper in getting information from different like Skatteverket and stuff like that. And what was it that made you want to challenge such a well-established industry?
I think it was possible to do something better without wasting all the trees that are necessary to make those
a bit like GlocalNet, there, right?
Exactly, but here it's very concrete. We save like 50,000 trees a year by having this service, which people prefer towards getting a paper, and the senders prefer it too. So here, I think to connect the two. So there's many ways you can try to do good through entrepreneurship. So I just explained how we structured God El and God Fond. So there we have kind of traditional companies doing business mainly like the other players in an industry, but we give the profits. But then the world is full of problems where you need a lot of risk taking, you need a lot of innovation, you need a lot of capital in order to improve the state of the world, basically. And that's where Kivra come in. It took 14 years to make it profitable. But now it's profitable. We are happy customers, happy society. We are creating, and that's by a kind of company that we call impact companies, where you have a societal problem, but you put a business on it. But you don't, like God El and so on, give away the profits, because when you do that, it's harder to scale. It's harder to mobilize capital to solve the problem. So it's a bit different. So I tried those two models, and they both work.
Two different ways of making a change in the world.
And on a systemic level, I think the impact companies can do more. Unfortunately, having tried those two, I got miserable again, because I felt that it's still not enough. Because there's too few impact companies and too many other companies, and the incentives in the whole system is wrong, and that's why I'm back at school.
So if you were going to take everything you've learned from these companies you had and say you were going to start a new one, or if you were going to give us advice as young students trying to start a company, what would you tell us?
I would probably tell you to try to do, in most cases, it depends on your lives. I would probably, you have to start in that end. Sort of, what do you want to accomplish, and what's your personal circumstance. But I believe in general, I believe more in, if you really want to do as much impact for the world as possible, I would encourage you to look for opportunities like Flower, where I'm chairman now, or Kivra. I didn't found Flower, just for the record. But anyway, I supported a young founder very early on. And then we also all together, you, me, and everyone. I'm very happy you invite me, because I do believe that the economic system, as it's now looking, it's not updated. It's great, but it's not updated. So we just need to do that to get sustainability as a normal thing for all companies, not just those trying to do the extra mile. We want all of the miles to be good.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And we'll get more into this new economic system you proposed later. But
in your book, we're gonna say
but
book after.
of all your ventures, which one was the hardest to get right? Which one was it that you felt at times was going to be impossible to figure out?
Oh, I think they have. I think that's another thing. It's great to build companies. I can just, but it's always difficult. It's just the challenges, and I mean, maybe sort of one of the companies that we would regard as most successful coming out of Sweden nowadays would be Spotify. And what sort of Martin Lorentzon, one of the founders, he typically says that the sum of a company, the value of a company is the sum of all the problems you've solved. Obviously not the correct formula, but it's a good message. Yeah. It's just, you will get a startup has all the odds against it, and the business plan that you make is typically or almost always wrong. You just have to find out what is wrong and start adapting.
Oh, all right. And you also have 2 investment companies, one of which is co-owned by the H&M owner Carl-Johan Persson. And what was it that made you cross paths with each other?
That was actually, again, back at this school.
Oh, as you said before, the connections.
But we didn't study together, but I was on the board of SSC Business Lab. So I was that year 2000 and a few years, or at least 2001 or 2, whenever it started. And then I was there for a while, and then suddenly he joined the board. And then I had the idea of starting the GoodCause Foundation with GoodDeal and GoodFund. So I wanted to start that with my role model entrepreneurs. So I wanted to reach his father, to be honest. But he was flying. He was living in London. He was coming in. So I mailed him saying, "Okay, so you're joining our board. That's fantastic. Could I have a meeting with you in conjunction with a meeting?" So I could pitch my GoodDeal idea and see if he could open the door to his father. That was the plan. But we got good friends and met several times. And after a few meetings, I kind of said, "It seems like you would enjoy this as well. So I don't want to meet your father if you want to be part of it." So then we started the GoodCause Foundation together. So since then, everything I have done, has been in cooperation with him. Everything.
Wow.
So first, the GoodCause Foundation. When I was CEO of GoodDeal, he was the chairman of GoodDeal. Then started GoodFund. He was on the board of GoodFund. I mean, he and I have been on the GoodCause Foundation's board since foundation. When I wanted, after 8 years, to start doing some investments outside the GoodCause Foundation and working with other entrepreneurs, that's when Kivra eventually comes in. Then we started this joint company. Said, "Okay, so everything I will invest. We will do this together." So that's, and we are still on that. So he's. If you have read my book, is the first quote on the back of the book is him. So he's supporting this as well.
Oh, amazing.
Very nice.
And you've spoken a bit about the GoodCause Foundation, but for the listeners that don't really know what it is, what is it exactly?
So it's so we wanted to start this GoodDeal company that serves people with energy, but gives all the profits to good causes. But a company needs to be owned by someone.
Yeah.
So I guess if I would have owned the company, and I would just have told everyone around me that I would promise to give everything to good causes. Well, some people wouldn't have trusted me in the first place, and I don't have an eternal life, so I will die at some point or another. And some people in the studio knows one of my 4 daughters, but I don't know what their ambitions in life would be, and they didn't exist at the time. So someone needs to own a company, and then we wanted a structure where there's no regrets on this, where you can never change your mind, where we can really promise that we will always give 100%. So it could be some different form, but we choose the ownership model of a foundation. So a foundation in Sweden, you cannot change the purpose afterwards. It's there for forever. So it's just a way to structure the ownership so we can never change our minds.
Cool.
And did this idea for it, well, it came with all of your companies that you started, but was this kind of a gradual idea that transformed for you, or was there like a turning point where you felt this is what I want to do now? I want to start this foundation. And
so yeah, that was when I was back here, and I was trying to figure out as 29-year-old what should I do with my life, and I wanted to do entrepreneurship, but I wanted to do it in order to do good rather than making money on my own. And then that's where this idea of having companies united by a kind of a brand that could enter different industries but will for always promise this. So that was that structure. And then Kivra is not like that. It could be Kivra has raised a lot of capital from investors that is hoping that they will get both the money back and more, just like any other company.
Yes.
And in your opinion, what is social and environmental entrepreneurism, and why should businesses be more responsible in this matter?
Well, I think that's why they should be, is that we live on a joint, if we take just the environmental part first, we live on one planet, which was, I was born 1972. 1971, I didn't know this until a few years ago, but 1971, so your parents' age, I suppose.
Yes, actually.
That was the first year where humanity took more resources out from the planet than the planet can regenerate. And even if we can fly to different planets and so on, there is no other planet as good for people to live on as this planet that we live on. And we don't even believe it exists another planet which is as good. So we better save it. The problem is that the economic system, you typically go back. So when you go out of the main building, there's two. If you look to the left, you have Karl Marx, and you look to the right, you have Adam Smith. So Adam Smith is regarded as the godfather. What do you say?
Mastermind.
The father or the forefather.
The forefather of economics, the grand, And at his time, he's absolutely brilliant. So I'm kind of trying to learn more about him, and he's brilliant, and he's got a lot of morale, and he's a great man, as far as I can read up on him. But at his time, he and everyone else, and for a long time thereafter, thought that nature is in abundance. It's a lot of it. And even though it's first year, you know that the core of economics is about managing scarce resources. And if something is not scarce at all, you don't have to manage it. Yeah. And that's how the system got created. Then, at his time, we were 800 million people on the planet. Now we're 8 billion. At his time, we hadn't industrialized. Now we have, and had global trade for quite some time. So we have changed the one of the major blocks of foundation of the system, that nature is in abundance, to actually, at the Stockholm University, you have Stockholm Resilience Center, they have planetary boundaries researcher, they have defined 9 boundaries. We have now surpassed the safe operating space out of 7 of those boundaries. Climate is just 1 of 7 that we are kind of overshooting. So this is a big change, and nothing to be sort of upset about or pointing fingers on who's. It's just a change. It's just like with software. It's just like your mobile phone. It was probably the same phone that you have, if it's not a new one, was probably great 3 years ago as well. But you have updated the software. And that's what humanity needs to do with the economic system, so that it doesn't get the voluntary thing that you can do on I'm nice, I read the happiness book and that's why I do it.
Yeah.
We need everyone to be able to, you make the winners have to do the right thing.
Yeah. And this is something you speak a lot about in your new book, The Laghum Economy.
Yes.
You basically propose a new sustainable market system. Can you explain where the title of the book came from and how will this system help solve these problems that we're facing?
Can you tell me what
Where did the word come
the
from?
word,
Laghum.
yeah. The word is Laghum, which is Old Norse or Old Swedish for lagom, but the Old Norse name Laghum, it meant in balance with what is right according to the law. So the balance I mean that we have lost is humanity's balance with nature, and we need the law to fix it. It shouldn't be voluntary, as I said. So it's not when it's done. It's not going to be super easy, and I'm not going to be finished. I hope this will happen as I'm alive. But when you look back on it afterwards, it's a really small update. Basically, in a country like Sweden, we have a big welfare system, which is fantastic. So school is free and so on, right? But so the half the economy in Sweden is the public sector, which is financed through taxes. And the majority, more than 50% of those taxes is tax on labor. And from another angle, you probably think sometimes about, will I be competing with AI? And you will, right? So it's a threat to jobs, right? We have to, but now we put a lot of extra cost on jobs through this tax system. At the same time as we are ruining the planet by overusing its resources, and that's no tax. So I basically just want to say, collect the same amount of tax, but do it differently, because if you do it differently, all companies, all entrepreneurs, all investors will try to make them the winners that are doing the most consumer value with least resources. That's not the way it is today. So it changes what I call the brief of the whole system. But it's a small thing, right?
It's a tax on the consumption of natural resources, but it would lead to big changes, but also big challenges. Can you tell us about the type of political or economic challenges that you could see arising from this?
Yeah, well, let's see why it hasn't already happened.
Exactly.
So there was a professor I have learned in this process. 1968, the professor from this school, Erik Dahmén, wrote the book, Put a Price on Nature. And he got some traction, and he picked up ideas that were 50 years old at his time. So it's been over basically 100 years where people have been thinking this ought to be done. The problem has escalated, right? And it still hasn't happened. Why? Well, then we need to look at how the world is connected. We don't have one country. We are also competing in between countries. And when the policymakers of the world have met at these global meetings around the world, at COP meetings, etc., they have been basically in agreement on a principle called polluters pay, meaning that let's say the factory that is polluting should pay. And it sounds right. The problem is if they don't also get to decide on a global level on that tax, it won't be implemented, because if Swedish politicians try to do that here, that factory will be taxed and they will lose competitiveness. So the things will be produced, but in another country. And in Sweden, the jobs would be lost and it would be bad for Sweden. And we've been stuck there for a long time. So actually, it's kind of fun. We meet today, and I published just yesterday on LinkedIn sort of a reference to 70. I'm old, but I'm younger than Bill Gates, who founded Microsoft. He's 70 years old now, and he wrote a piece just 1.5 weeks ago about his optimism. So he is still optimistic about the world, but with footnotes, he said. And then he had 3 footnotes, and the first one, not the first one, one of the 3 footnotes is about the problem that we are not having the right incentives for the market to fix the climate. And I think it could be fixed.
It's kind of this coordinating between countries, and it's the same problem as, well, many climate problems. You need the countries to agree to do something together.
Exactly. And then, so that's why it hasn't happened. But now we have new technology, so we could approach this, and that's what the book is about, right? So we could approach this, I believe, from the other end, saying, no, we can also have a philosophical, but that's another pod, I guess, discussion about who's the polluter. Let's in Sweden, if we compare pollution with prostitution, in Sweden, it's not forbidden to be a prostitute. It's forbidden to buy services from a prostitute. Same thing. And in Sweden, we have the same scale of punishment for if I ask you to steal in the shop and I buy it for half price around the corner. Same punishment as stealing yourself. So that's what I'm saying. So the polluter, I say, who actually decides in the economy how much will be produced of what things? It's the consumers. So if we move the tax burden to the consumers or the consumption end, and we manage to do that with technology, so to track what is actually in the different things that we buy, the country that would go first, or the regions that would go first, they don't lose competitiveness. Because when their products are sold in other markets, no tax.
Exactly.
And since I want to use the tax money collected there to reduce tax on labor, they're actually gaining in competitiveness because the industries here will have cheaper people, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, but so you said the taking away the tax on labor then instead. So
Yeah,
kind of switch
reducing
off.
in parallel. So not raising more money, but just raising in a different way.
And I saw your post on LinkedIn actually yesterday. You're trying to find a meeting with Bill Gates as well, I think. Trying to have a short. How's that going? Do you think you're gonna have a chance
it's amazing actually.
He's a busy man, I assume, but
yeah, it's amazing. It's a fun story. So maybe. The essence of the story, I would, in this pod at least, would like to say that if you try to do good things, if you're open and transparent and people start trusting you when you try to do good things, people want to help you. So I posted another, it's not something I do every day. So I post a lot now, but I don't. 2 months ago, just before the COP meeting, Bill Gates published a paper about the climate. And then I read that very quickly, and then I posted a comment on that. So thank you for a thoughtful memo, Bill Gates, that I've never met. And then I compared his thinking to my Laghum economy thinking a little bit, and then I said to my LinkedIn network, so I would love to discuss this with Bill Gates. Does anyone know how to reach him, kind of? And some people actually sort of started mailing me saying, I have this person that might know that person that might know. And I said, okay, this is not my life mission to just start chasing Bill Gates. So I kind of left it. Then it turns out that not because of me, but he's coming to Stockholm. So he's coming at least on Thursday, he will be here. And so that he will be participating in different events. And due to this post, I'm invited to 3 events. So he will see me quite a lot. I don't know if I will get to meet him sort of one-to-one, but I have also secured that he will get the book. Whether he likes it or not, he will get the book.
Good, there we go.
And I guess this brings us to our last question, if you want to take it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it would kind of be related to this. What type of reaction do you think business leaders and world leaders will get to your proposed
And what reactions have you gotten
so far?
So far?
If we narrow it down to the business leaders, and maybe to be on the safe side, because I have known so many more sort of Swedish business leaders than global business leaders, I feel, and I don't think it's fake, but if I'm wrong, we will know eventually, but a lot of support from business leaders, because they see the problem, and everyone wants to be on the good side of history, right? Yeah. So when you run a business, you want to do it and create a better world at the same time, but you want to be profitable. So you're limited in what you can do. It's sort of everyone is forced to follow the economic system. You can always try to do a little bit more than you have to, but not a lot more, because then you're bankrupt. So I feel, and unlike a lot of that's the reaction I have received. Unlike a lot of other people talking about, or policymakers talking about environment, I'm the strawberry picker, right? I understand, and they understand, the Swedish business leaders, that if you raise the price of something, you want to use less of it, and if you reduce it, you will use more. So it's so easy for a business person to understand that if this system would actually be for real, it would be very good for the environment.
Yeah.
And it would direct our innovation, investments, and everything. So they are very supportive. They, like everyone else, including the policymakers, and will kind of ask, okay, how do we get there? And that's a long pod, but we can try. But it's basically, if I would, I think the economic system is really powerful, and no one can just skip it. But it's not a law of nature. It's up to us humans to change it, and it's possible. But it only gets possible, is my view, when we are many people that actually start to see this. Okay, this is actually a way forward. Let's try to do it. And that's what I'm trying to create, right?
Amazing. Cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you
going to
so
finish with a few questions from SSC students.
Okay.
We asked them to, and we picked out ones we liked the most. And we have one question from Sarah, and she wonders, what words of advice do you have for young entrepreneurs looking to make a difference in today's world?
I would look for problems where you can actually, there will always be problems that are unfixed, that are still fixable within our economic system. Try to find them, and it doesn't have to be so sort of. But I mean, Kivra is such, and it was a long journey. But it lots of smaller problems like that. So just try to get your business being able to solve problems and still be profitable.
Yeah, interesting. And then we had one question from Eric, and he asked, in a way, one could say that Kivra disrupted the postal industry. Which industry do you think is the next one that will be disrupted and changed?
Oh, I think there will be so many industries disrupted and changed. Basically, which industry would not be? And that's nice, right? And that's also why when we get the update, when some sort of things will happen, it's not like we're going back to the caves and not doing stuff. I think we will fly. I think we will do a lot of stuff that people are kind of, at least in this country, a bit shameful of doing. But it will be through innovation, solved and done in a better way. So basically, I would have to counter to Eric, what industry is not going to be disrupted?
And then we have our last question from Fox, and he wonders, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
My 20-year-old self. Well, I was. I think I'm. Because I was a bit. It's not so fun answer, but what I found out as a 29-year-old, I think was a good way to live, and that is trying to do what you're good at, and direct it to good causes. And that includes not forgetting yourself and your family as well, of course. But so have fun, like you're having here. You could be studying, but you're actually podding instead, and do what you have to do, but have fun on the way and try to be good.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for joining,
thank you
and
so
I
much.
think if everybody was a little bit more like you, the world would definitely be a better place. So thanks a lot for joining us today.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
inviting me.
Thank you.